Hey guys, this is Cherry Blossoms, and we're just going to be continuing Autumn's journey from where we last left off, just at this cute chibi seat. So, hey! ... Oh please, I've had less sleep than you and I'm already, energized and ready to go. Pouting, I poked Kerr some more with the walking stick I had fashioned for him. It hadn't been easy to find a sturdy stick in the birch forest, but I had located a long one that would suffice. I'd spent the morning carving off any bark that had even indented the top to make it easier to grip. Now it was my dragon prod. Up! Arise, sacred dragon! Cut that out! Kerr hastily shot up, throwing off my blanket in a feeble attempt to hide the fact that he had used it. Cute. I decided to counter his usual scowl with the perkiest, most cheerful grin I could muster. Good morning! My buoyancy was genuine. For some reason, it satisfied me to know that my vivaciousness had irked him. I love that. Vivaciousness irked. Okay. I could use my sunny disposition to my advantage. It'd be better than snapping at him at any rate. Stop poking me with that.
You're welcome.
It's your walking stick. Here, you're welcome. I turned it sideways and offered it to him. He warily gazed at it, as if I was presenting a cobra instead, but carefully grasped it. Cautiously, he pressed the stick against the ground as he stood up. I remained close, lest he topple over like yesterday. Oh gosh, I can't speak. His fingers jumped against the carved handle, and he looked at me quizzically. You spent time on this?
Right.
Well, I wanted to finish it off with a pretty flowing ribbon, but I had a feeling you wouldn't like it. Grumbling, Kerr took a step forward, leaning on the stick before hesitantly taking another. With each step, he regained some confidence, and soon he was walking in a straight line, albeit with an uneven gait. He could not exactly break into a run, or even a brisk stride, but it was a huge improvement from last night. I estimated we could reach the cave leading to the altar by mid-afternoon. I quickly packed and followed him, since I had the feeling that the only thing on his mind was that altar. It's this way. Oh, wow, thanks. I pointed towards the gentle incline, and Kerr narrowed his eyes resentfully. Going downhill would probably be difficult for him. As we headed towards our destination, I cut my distance at first, but I gradually drew towards Kerr, one hand extended in anticipation of a stumble. Oh my gosh, okay. Kerr balked and increased the distance between us, determined to progress, on his own. However, his pace was excruciatingly slow, and he was unwilling to start any small talk. As the slope gradually steepened, his footing became more unsteady, and I worryingly grabbed his arm for support. What? He twirled around in surprise, and I actually did end up bracing him. Once he was able to stand again, I sighed. Look, I know you don't like me touching you, but if your priority is to get to that altar as soon as possible, I think you can swallow your dignity and accept my help. Besides, no one else is around to see.
I don't need your help.
Well, you've done enough. I don't need any more help from you. He shifted his weight and started to use the stick to ward me away. I frowned disapprovingly. Hey, if you try and hit me with that thing, I'll confiscate it. Even I wouldn't do something like that. Gritting his teeth, he leaned heavily against one of the birch trees. When I get back, I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. Who? My master. His curt answer stalled the torrent of questions piling up in my head. It would be poor of me to interrogate him while he was still obviously overwhelmed by the situation. Right now the goal was more important.
Right.
Then let's get you to that cave. You believe me? Everything I told you? Maybe you're just a convincing actor, but I think that even an actor would drop his charade after a while. Just as I was about to reach for him again, a low grumble pierced the forest. I glanced at Kerr in amused bafflement. He averted his eyes, but I could tell he was embarrassed. You know, if you're hungry...
Shut up!
I'm not. Another complaint from his stomach. I think you'll be able to walk faster if you have something to eat. What do dragons eat, anyways? Meddling heavenkind. I rolled my eyes. Well, you have a heaven-kind stomach now, and I doubt it'll agree with a diet like that. But it does make sense that you wouldn't want to try the bread or cheese. I doubt dragons thresh rye or run dairy farms. It was then that I remembered that apple tart. Even if Kerr found the pastry part detestable, the fruit would probably be familiar to him. I urged him to sit down. When he refused, I simply made myself comfortable on the ground first. Here, this is the closest thing I have to something found in nature. I could forage, but that would take even longer. What is that? It's a pastry. My dad owns a bakery. You probably wouldn't understand that. It's basically a treat with apple filling, and I think some apricot jam. Thankfully, my dad preferred showing off the natural ingredients. As a result, the top of the tart had thin slices of appetizing fruit covered with a lustrous yellow glaze. Kerr sniffed it warily. It must have been agreeable enough, since he soon accepted the pastry. Cute. You're welcome. As soon as he started nibbling on it, he must have realized how famished he really was, because he quickly devoured the entire tart. I watched as he coughed slightly and wiped the crumbs off his mouth, but his expression was unreadable. That was cute. So, how was it? Anything tastes fine when you're starving. Or you just inhaled it so fast that you didn't actually taste it. Well, it should tide you over until we reach the altar. Kerr grabbed a stick, and we resumed our trip. The extra sugar boost seemed to lift both the pace and his mood, although he stayed taciturn. What? As we continued through the forest, I stopped and groaned when I spotted some dark trees. Those are... Oh gosh. Euphelbon trees? Completely forgot. We should probably go around them. Euphelbon? He peered at the thick, gnarled trunks. What, scared of that bark? It'll be quicker if we continue in a straight line. No, it's not about the trees. It's what lies in them. They make a perfect nest for avatarals. Avatarals? Avatarals. Those giant bird things. I thought you would know them? I would if I understood your names. Why are you giving new names to everything anyways? We dragons were here first, and we've already established... I raised my hands to silence him, not wanting to make any unnecessary noise. He scowled, but a shrill cry startled both of us. Then what do you call that?
Whoa.
Usually food. Well, that'll be us now. Perched on one of the lower branches was the reptilian bird with scales running down its front. The rest of the body was covered in earth-toned feathers. They're probably no taller than 4 feet. Its extremely wide wingspan and sharp talons made it a fearsome animal to encounter in the wild. Avatarals raised young way into the fall, so the mothers would be extraterritorial this time of year. The bird ruffled its plume, making itself seem larger than it was, and prepared to launch itself at us. Fighting scene. I immediately stepped in front of Kerr, gripping my sword as I took a defensive stance. With Kerr's condition, an instant retreat wouldn't work. I'd have to guard him.
Whoa.
What are you? You're not planning to fight it, are you? Do we have a choice? Look out! I shoved Kerr off balance. Thanks to my quick reflexes, we narrowly avoided a slash from the avataral's talons. The wind whipped at my hair as debris flew up around us. I scrambled to my feet and sprinted forward, hoping to keep the avataral's attention away from Kerr. As it dove towards me, I slashed upward. It veered away, dodging my counterattack. Kerr, I'll keep it busy while you get away. Are you stupid? I'm not leaving you behind. Kerr? I need you to take me to the altar. And it seemed like he actually cared for a moment there. Maybe if you shouted the directions at me, I could get there alone. I'm kinda busy here. I can't get my bearings in the middle of a battle. My aggravation was the incentive I needed to keep the avataral at bay. However, my training had never covered aerial attacks, and the bird's scaly front was like armor. Are you holding back? It's just protecting its young. It's trying to kill you. You think I haven't noticed? Oh, for the wings. Clip them. It won't hurt it, but it'll stop it from flying. Just clip the tips. I winded my stance as I prepared for another attack. At the last second, I leapt to the side, slicing at an angle. My sword beautifully sheared the avataral's thick primary feathers. The monster swerved into the ground, its shoulder and head bearing the brunt of the crash. It let out a cry, and I felt a split second of guilt. had vanished when I yelped as the bird tried to tear me down with its talons. Luckily, the avatar was designed for swooping down at prey rather than running on ground, so it could only hobble awkwardly. As it screeched and futilely spread its wings, I retreated, grateful that it was slower than Kerr. I wove through the trees until it finally gave up chasing me, and sighing in relief, I looped back and returned to Kerr, who was also at a safe distance. Looks like it gave up, but what about its young? It'll be fine. The feathers won't grow back. Or will grow back. The feathers won't grow back. Okay, the feathers will grow back, and it can still hop its way back to its nest. Its babies won't need to eat as constantly at this stage anyways.
Thanks.
You sure know a lot about them. Thanks for the suggestion. He snorted indignantly. I already told you, they're food. Of course I know about them. Soon the forest was quiet once again, with only the sounds of our footsteps and the tap of Kerr's walking stick breaking the silence. Surprisingly, he did not protest when I suggested a safer route, nor when I walked nearly shoulder to shoulder with him. I had the feeling that starting a regular conversation would push my luck, so I cut my mouth shut and instead hoped for no more setbacks. Ooh, okay, next scene. This is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a very deep cave. You can simply take a turn and the altar is right there. That's it? No complex mazes, no shiny sacred magic lake with a guardian or anything? Hey, we did what we could. This is a modest altar. I took a deep breath and smiled reminiscently. I haven't been here in years. I think I came before to make an occasional offering around harvest season. I gave Kerr a cheerful look, but he continued forward, ignoring my recollections. I shrugged and followed, quickly catching up to him. Kerr awkwardly knelt before the altar, discarding the walking stick once he was comfortable. He closed his eyes with a softened scowl, almost as if he was meditating. 1 second, just gonna bring up the music. Okay. Suddenly his mineral-like ears perked, and he stared directly at the statue. There was no change in the atmosphere, and I could tell Kerr was angry. His hand tightly gripped his knee. I know we're connected. I demand that you remove the stupid curse. He fell silent. I looked around in amusement. He was talking to someone? But I couldn't hear the other half of the conversation. For some reason, that made me even more attentive as I tried to piece everything together. You can't be serious, so I said a few things, but, huh? Yes, I met one. That's how I found this altar in the first place. He whirled towards me, and I blinked in confusion. As he was studying me for the first time, I stiffened, wondering why he was staring at me so intensely. Once he finally turned away, I relaxed, although I could not help but feel anxious about the discussion. What about me? Weak, pathetic, gives strange names to animals, doesn't seem to know much about Ashtera or how the world works. Is he referring to the heavenkind in general or just me? What? I guess the food is half decent or something. The apple tarts. What? No. You're not sending me on some pointless inspirational quest. I'm not a child. I can't even walk in the swarm, so your plan is... At that moment, a blinding light flashed from where Kerr was standing, and I flinched in shock. Whoa, Kerr? By the time I knelt down and worryingly grabbed his shoulder, the flash had already disappeared. In one smooth movement, Kerr removed my hand and stood up without the walking stick. His eyes still seemed focused beyond me, and he slowly nodded to himself. Did your powers return or something? He extended his palm and lurched towards the ground, slamming it against the hard stone. Oh gosh. The entire cave shook. The tremor visibly and mentally shook me as well, and my heart pounded loudly. I felt so paralyzed I couldn't even scream. Once I found my balance, I looked bewilderedly at Kerr, who smugly flexed his unharmed fingers. I stared curiously at his cocksure expression. So... He barely glanced in my direction. It's not exactly what I wanted. However, a portion of my original powers and strength are back, along with my balance. I can actually be comfortable in this form now. He gave a dismissive kick to the walking stick, then promptly walked away from the altar. Oh, that's so sad. She spent time on that. I mustered a small smile.
Right.
Well, that's promising at least. What will you do next? Do what he ordered me to do, and become normal again.
I don't need your help.
I can do this on my own. Ah. So you don't need to follow me. I had to anyways. There was only one way out of that cave. But as soon as we were in open air, Kerr took off running with a grace and speed I'm sure no real heavenkind could ever replicate. I love this song. Okay. I blinked once, and sure enough, I was alone. I scratched the back of my head, still absorbing what just happened. You're welcome? Burying my head in my hands, I shook out my hair in frustration. Was I expecting something from this? Well, a thank you would have been nice. I tapped my sword hilt for reassurance. It's what a knight does. They help the weak and demonstrate their generosity when it is needed. Well, Kerr is not weak anymore. He can definitely take care of himself now. I guess my duty is done.
Right.
Mission complete. Just some experience as a reward and a discarded walking stick. Deciding not to linger any longer, I started walking back towards Barry. My parents would certainly be worried by now. Oh, nice. So that's chapter 1 done, and on to chapter 2, which I'll do in the next episode. But chapter 2, welcome back. Alright, so I'll continue this next time.